We're in the repair room today. Little videos I'm going to try doing for you guys, just quick repairs. Today we're going to be doing a center diff for a 6S Arrma. Also applies really to the front and the rears. So let's get right into it. Alright, getting into it with the parts that you're going to need to build a diff. I'll show you guys here. We're going to need the case, the gears, the out drives. These are the pins that go behind the sun gears. 8x16 bearings. Diff fluid, we're running 300, a little heavier. This is mostly a Bastion street car he's using it for. Shims. These are 3x12 screws. These are just Traxxas ones, but really anything will work. I just didn't have the Arrma bagged ones. Going with the 46 gear on this one, and the O-rings for it. You're also going to need some basic tools and pliers. I got my drills and stuff with just regular Allens. Let's get right into it. I'm going to open these up and show you guys how to do it. Alright guys, so I got the parts laid out here. Zoom out for you here a little bit. So, a couple things. One, I want to show you guys this. If you go on the Arrma website, you can pull up an exploded view of this diff, which I recommend maybe just pulling up and throwing it aside just in case you want to check out the exploded view. It's right on the Horizon website. But anyway, let's get into it. Another thing here, it's going to come, because we bought a bunch of these parts, I don't know if it'll focus, it's going to come with a bunch of these. You'll have probably 8 of these, I think, yeah. You're not going to need that many of them, but just because you bought all the parts, they come with a diff case and the gear set, so don't worry about that. So let's get right into it. First, I always put this, the diff case comes with this little set screw right here. I don't even know if the camera will pick that up. I just go ahead and put that right in the case because I always seem to forget that one. Just put that right in. You gotta cut the threads, so make sure you do it straight. Just kind of pick off anything that uncoils there. Alright, next I'm going to throw the bearing on, like that, because you don't want to forget to put that. So with that sit in there, I'm going to need a couple of the shims. I left them in the bag because I'm not going to need all of them. So I'm going to dump a few of these guys out. So washer goes on the out drive, and then now the out drive will go into the diff. I like to throw a little bit of grease on there. I use the marine grease. I don't know if this has got a part number on it or anything, but I'll link it down below with the little nozzle. Just throw a little bit on the out drive there, just because it's metal on metal and tends to help it wear. Maybe give it a little twist when I'm putting it in. Now on the inside, I'm going to pop that O-ring in there. Like so. Don't worry about getting it all the way down because we're going to put the washer on and the washer will push it all the way in. At this point it may be helpful, as you can see, to get a pair of small needle nose. I just picked these guys up at Harbor Freight. And then we got it pushed in, the washer covering the O-ring. Then we take the small pin. This is going to go in through the hole on the back side of that out drive. Get it to go past like so. Hopefully it's focusing for you. Everything should spin pretty freely at this point. Alright, so we're going to set that down. Now we have to install the gears. So for those I usually start with the cross pins. The gears go on either side, like so. And then we take one of the flat washers that came with it. Goes on either side, like so. So I don't know, see if I can get you there. Yeah, it's gonna be kind of hard to see. There it is. So the washer goes over. Alright. Now we gotta take these little tombstone pieces here, and the funny grooves go to the outside. like so. And then the rounded part will fit down inside the diff. If you look in the, put the sun gear in. And we got to put the first set of spider gears in there. Sometimes it helps if you hold the center pin and twirl the outdrive to get them to line up. You want to keep that groove pointed upwards. And we got to build the second set of gears. We built our second set here. Now the grooves in the cross pins will lock into each other. Give it a twirl. So it should look something like that. And everything should move nice and free, like so. Now moving on to the other half. This goes together essentially the same way as the case side. So I'm going to go ahead, slip the bearing over it. Got to make sure you put that on first. Then our outdrive, throw the washer on it. A little bit of grease. Don't have to go too crazy there. And slide it in, give it a little nice spin, some grease in there. Throw our O-ring on. One more steel washer. Like so. Pin, a little easier to get in on this side because we're not reaching into the case. Pin. And sun gear, and everything should spin. So this is the gear half. And then on this side we also have the O-ring, which I'm just going to set in here for now. Make sure we line it up with the holes there. I'm just going to set that aside for now. We got our screws and the diff. So this, we got the 300,000. You can use really whatever you want to use for this part. Heavier for more, for less diff action, lighter for more. So it depends if you're racing, bashing, street, whatever. So for this heavier oil, I just take the nozzle right off and just gonna squeeze some in. I just kind of put a glob of it in there. This is pretty heavy stuff, so I'm just gonna let it sit for a minute. And then we come back, check it. You basically want the oil to be just covering the top of the cross pins. But this is pretty heavy stuff, so it's going to take a while to go down. It's still at the top there. So we're going to let that sit for a minute, and then we join the two halves, and we should have a functioning diff. We let the diff fluid settle a little bit. We're going to go ahead and join the two halves. I got the gasket set up on this side. It's a little tricky trying to get the gasket to line up with all the holes here. So we're just trying to line them up as we put them together. And then make sure they line up. This way you have to rotate the halves. We go ahead and put in the screws. It is cutting new threads, so it's going to be difficult. If you're not using a drill and you're using a hand tool, they're not going to go just right in. You're going to have to put some pressure on them because you're cutting threads into that diff case. If you are using a drill, don't go full tight until we get them all set in, and then I usually tighten them down with a hand tool. You want to make sure these tighten evenly. Let's take the hand tool. These are all 2mm. Snug them up with a hand tool. Kind of try to go a little bit diagonal with them. And we should be able to spin like so. They're going to spin the opposite direction. And depending on how heavy your fluid is, there'll be more or less resistance. So as long as nothing is binding up and the same resistance all the way around, you should be good to go to drop this in your car. Thanks for watching, guys. That's how you build a center diff for the 6S Arrma lineup.